Well, now I want to introduce Tom Farrell. You've seen Tom many times on the show before, and he is laying some track tonight, I understand. So, Tom, welcome.
I haven't actually put any track down, but I have put cork down, and I have designed the yard and a town. And I have some PowerPoint slides tonight, show you my photos. This is a picture of my previous rustic buff and old Gothic. Each week I feature a photograph of the old layout, which took 15 years to build and 1 day to take out. I model an On30. Go to the next slide. There it is in glorious color. I will feature this again. I have all these structures in the next layout, the layout I'm working on now. Okay, let's jump to the next slide. Okay, this is my main classification yard. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the late John Armstrong. He passed away in 2004. He was known as the Dean of Model Railroad Layout Design. And he used to have these things he would call givens and druthers. And my givens are that where this yard is 24 inches in depth and 8 feet in length. So that's a given. The other given is that I wanted these tracks to be on 3.5-inch centers, not only for clearance purposes, but quite honestly, you know, when you're going to have to manually unhook these cars with the great arm, you know, with the human. So you can't have the tracks too close together, or you're going to run into trouble uncoupling cars. I know we could use Katie uncoupling devices all over the place. Maybe I'll explore that. But for now, 3.5 inches on On30 appears to be sufficient to give adequate clearance and to put your hand and pick up cars as necessary. Now, I wanted to use a double-ended yard. You know, so that means that what you see on the left is on the right, you know, as far as the ladder is concerned. But there just wasn't room. And stub-ended tracks take less space. They also provide for greater storage than a double-ended yard. That's the druthers. You know, as much as I wanted a double-ended yard, I couldn't afford the real estate. And I have a big layout room. My layout's 35 feet in length. But that was my druthers. So I considered using micro-engineering HO scale. They have a ladder track system. It allows you to make more compact ladders. It uses these condensed switches that basically they're all custom engineered to do a if a standard ladder takes you approximately in HO, or in this case On30, you know, I got to do this from memory, approximately 20 inches. They cut that down by a third. But to be honest, I've had such poor experience with microengineering on durability issues that I stayed away from it. Perhaps they've solved their problem, but I'm sticking with Pico, which is one of the great debates in Facebook, whether you use Pico or microengineering or hand laying. I'm capable of hand laying, but there's only so much time, and I like Pico. It's just very reliable track work. Anyway, enough on that diatribe. One of the other things that I just recently decided was to have a double track main line. Now, I model On30 narrow gauge. It's probably unheard of to have a double track main line, but my railroad, my rules. I'm designing this layout for two purposes. One, I just love watching trains go round and round. So a double track main line will give me the ability to run 2 trains in one direction and 2 trains in another without them running into one another. And then the layout is designed for operation. So the double track main line can be used as a double track or as passing sidings. We could set it up that way. One of the key things you have to do when you put in a yard is to have what's called a yard lead. So if you see on the left-hand side of the drawing there, that has to be at least as long as the longest train you're going to run past the last turnout. So that will go off to the left. So it will exceed the 8 feet. That'll be the yard lead. There's another thing that John Armstrong used to say, thou shall not foul the main. So in other words, when you're setting up a train, you don't want to have to back up onto the main line, because if those trains are running round and round, or you're doing operation, nobody wants to stop while you have to mix up, while you're putting together a train. So to that end, I designed this yard so that from either direction, a train can leave the main line and go onto that yard lead. I designed what's called an engine runaround. So if the train pulls in from the east, it can go down that first track above the main there, stop, uncouple, and run around. The main engine can run around the stub end ladder, provided there's no cars on there, and then loop out around and go to the engine service. So basically, I've got 2 stubs, track 1 and 2, and then on the very top, a makeup track. I played around with this for about a month, so I came up with this configuration. And I looked at all kinds of details online and just researched the crap out of it. One operating session is worth 1,000 opinions. So we'll have to see how this works. I estimate it has a 22-car capacity, which should be sufficient, even though I probably have at least 50 cars. Next slide, please. So here we are. I have the cork down. So you're looking at 2 ends of the same section of the railroad. This foam is not tied to the benchwork yet because I don't have the backdrops haven't arrived. So this entire section will lift out. So I can put in the backdrop and then lift this back, put this back in place. Then I'll put in the track. The wiring is already in place. It's DCC, and I've got my bus lines in place and a 12-volt power supply bus for the tortoise machines. I am planning to use the touch toggle system from Barrett Hills, and you'll see that that vendor is going to be on the program in March, I believe. We go to the next slide. So there's on the left is how I did the cork. Is basically I put the turnouts where they would be, and then I just lined up a straight section between the 2 turnouts, and then I laid in the cork. Incidentally, a lot of guys that do narrow gauge don't use cork road bed. I happen to like the look of it, and it gives you a little bit of sound deadening. I put it down with rubber cement. I bought a gallon can of rubber cement, put that down. You can't put it down with a hard glue like a wood glue or an Elmer's glue. It just vibrates too much. The rubber cement acts as a bit of a vibration isolator. Next slide. This is the opposite side of the layout that you just looked at. So you were looking, the yard is on the island, and this town, I'm naming it Red Rum for the moment. This town is located in the opposite side of the yard with the scenic divide in between the 2. So basically, this town will have a mining area, which I'll show you in a moment, the water tower, a depot, a freight station, and an industry there. School's still out if I'm going to use all those backdrop buildings. I do a lot of, before I got this configuration here, I played around with it for about a month and a half too. I kept laying things out and seeing what worked, what looked right, what didn't look right. This is why I don't design anything on CAD, because I like to visualize what I'm doing. And it's just, I think you get better results doing it this way. I guess you could lay in the main line with the CAD system, but I like to do it basically old school. And again, this was all, this was a passing siding when I originally started. And then I had so many passing sidings, I said, why not just make it a double track main line? And that's how I got to that point. We go to the next slide. So this is the mining area. This is like number 1 there in the schematic down there. It's going to be approximately 5 inches high there. You can see the 2 tracks there. There'll be either, I haven't decided whether I'm going to put in a coal mine or a limestone. Jim's kind of spurring me on to put another limestone. I'm not sure yet. I could easily do either. I think I might have 1 limestone mine and 1 coal mine. We'll see where we go. But and I'm thinking of putting some dummy tracks up in the upper left there. They won't actually, they may be powered, but they won't go anywhere. There might be a tipple. This is why I like to visualize what's going on here. I will custom scratch build the mine here, which will be a very interesting project. It'll have a tipple and it'll be a really, I'm waiting to do this. This is one of my favorite aspect of model railroading is building the structures. So I'm trying to get to that point. Next slide. These are just a couple prototype ideas for a coal mine that might sit in the side of that mountain where number 1 is. It will be an elaborate structure, probably more like on the left than on the right. It's going to be a whole complex. And I'm really looking forward to scratch building that. That will take several months to build. We won't be able to show that one in a week's time. But it'll be a really interesting model. Okay, next slide. This is right in front of the mining area. I was dabbling with this balsa foam. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that. I'm going to put in a cut stone tunnel portal there. I started it. That'll be probably a program unto itself. But basically, I'll take a piece of plywood that I've already sketched it out and already made a couple cuts there on the left. And there'll be a keystone in there, and then surrounded, it'll be cut stone, which is basically it'll be limestone, and then that retaining wall. That's not just going to be a cut stone wall. That's going to have all kinds of, it'll look organized and planned for the first 6 inches from the tunnel. Then it's my thought to have concrete block, wood, just like it, just nothing organized, nothing planned, just like they kept adding to it. I mean, it'll look basically half-assed, which is the kind of look I want to show there. So the portal, and immediately off the portal will be, dimensional cut stone from a limestone mill, and the rest of it will be just random, block and brick and wood. And I haven't really thought it all out. Again, I'll build it on the spot and just see where it goes from there. Nothing, my typical, nothing planned, just away we go. But balsa foam's really a pretty neat material, though. I haven't really dressed those corners or anything. I just carved it out with a dental tool and a ruler, but I'm going to play around with that. Next slide. So this is more of the town. These are all scratch-built structures of mine. The water tower, the depot, that freight station's actually a kit. And then Gleason's Mechanical Test Equipment. That's a scratch build kit, or scratch built by me. It's not a kit. So those will be some of the industries served here. That's numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5 on the schematic. Okay, next one. Photo on the left is looking down. You see in the very back, I'm toying with the idea of putting a trestle back there and a tipple, a second tipple. So behind the water tower is a Y track that will feed a tipple. And then I was thinking having yet another tipple there just to add some visual interest. If I do that, that first building flat, won't be there. I'll take that out. I'll have to have some space between the end of the tipple and the end of the track there. And that track will be powered, but it won't go anywhere. Then on the right, I've always wanted to put an X, one of these crossings in a layout. So here it is. And they're actually quite useful. That crossing X is how I'm able to get from the main to the mining area elegantly without taking up too much real estate. And then it's just it's going to look pretty neat. I'll put some sort of controlling tower or something in that triangle, that pink area below the crossing. Be some sort of railroad oriented structure there. And I'm getting to the point. I mean, this is the part of the model railroading I like. I'm past well, I like it all, but this is the art for art's sake part. When you start putting in the structures and the scenery, and underneath this, the wiring's all in place. I just have to drop wires to my DCC bus. The next show, I'll show how I'm going to use how I'm going to put in the tortoise machines. They'll hopefully all be in by the next time I show. And yeah, so I'll take some questions here if anybody has any right now. Unmute yourself.
Tom,
Yeah,
are you going to be able to incorporate all your buildings in this new layout?
that is a great question. I hope so. I was just thinking about that the other day. I hope so would be the best answer I can give. I hope so.
That's a good answer.
Tom, Larry
Thanks, Tom.
McDonald here. Where do you find balsa foam these days?
Online art supply store, which its name is escaping me at the moment. But just this major art supply store, I mail ordered it, these little cubes. I did buy some stuff that looks like balsa foam at Hobby Lobby. I'm going to try that, see if it works. It's like the foam they use for those fake flowers and stuff. I don't know if that'll work or not. It might be a little coarse.
Right.
I have to build a hand carve a curved aqueduct. See, I see two of you guys have trestles in your background pictures. I'm going to do a curved stone archway that I'm going to build up with basswood, and then I'm going to laminate either hand carved balsa foam on there to represent cut stone, or I'm going to cast plaster, a hydrocal or plaster blanks and hand carve the stone. I haven't figured out which way I'm going to go, but I'm looking forward to that project too.
Tom, Steve Shell here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an 0-3 modeler, just like you.
Uh-huh.
Have you gone to many operating sessions to see what other people are doing as far as operation of a railroad?
No, but I haven't. I have a friend online, Dan Rousseau. It's not on tonight, but he lives in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah,
when I get my railroad, you know, Dan? Well,
Yeah, oh yeah.
when I get my railroad running, when all the track's down, I'm gonna fly Dan up here. And we're gonna put together a few scenarios for operating sessions. I'm counting on him to because he does this all the time in Dallas. They're not On30. He does HO. He goes to other people's layouts that have these huge operating sessions. And we're going to put together a few scenarios. That
Yeah. Do you have a complete picture of your layout, a complete diagram?
no. But I could draw one. I could do. I almost did one, but I ran out of time for today. I'll do one for next time. I'll have one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
You're going to Al's.
Pardon me.
You're going to the 30 meet in June, right?
Yeah, and there's one in April 1st too.
Are you going to that one?
Yes, I'm going to both.
Okay. I live about 80 miles from the show. I'd
Okay.
like to have you come down and see. I have a layout that's set up for operation,
Oh, yeah. that'd be great.
designed, and I've had quite a few operating sessions here, and I may be able to give you some ideas of what works and doesn't work. Okay.
Yeah, that would be great.
Non-battery.
I can come in. Well, there's a show April 1st, but I'll come in the day before. What I do is
That's
I drive
fine.
to Pittsburgh, then I drive to Harrisburg. So, yeah, we'll make contact, and maybe I'd love to do that. Yeah.
Okay.
I have a quick alternative to your balsa foam for your viaduct.
Okay.
I use the the styrofoam meat trays that you get your meat in from the grocery store.
Oh, yeah, that's a dense
About
foam.
a 1/16 of an inch thick. It carves very beautifully, and it takes paint like all your styrofoam.
I just had a chicken package today. It had that yellow plastic.
Yeah, that, like I say, it works great. I use it for streets and for stone foundations.
Well, there's a great idea.
Okay, I'm gonna let you get back to the show.
That's a great idea because the balsa foam looks a little porous to me, to be honest,
Listen, I'm really glad to hear that you're going to invite Dan to join you, particularly since most of the structures on your layout he will have built.
Yeah, there's a private joke there.